Getting the perfect point of view shot for your motorcycle can be tricky. I've been using the mount from Chin Mount for the last 2 years in my own setup. Can this 3D printed plastic be trusted to hold your expensive action camera? Let's find out.
So before we jump back into the studio and take a closer look at the Chin mounts, I do want to talk about why I chose this and think it's the best mount for a GoPro if you're doing any side of motorcycle content for longer form YouTube or even short form. There are plenty of different options out there to mount a GoPro or any type of action camera to your actual helmet. Sometimes the GoPro accessories you get come with a helmet mount, but it's something that you have to attach to the side of the helmet. And I like symmetry, and when it's mounted over there as the viewer, I don't know, I'm just not a huge fan of that look, just because you also get some of the helmet in the shot as well. And then there's the one that you can mount on top of the helmet, and then that's just way too high and not really a good point of view. And then they make chest rigs as well, where some people actually mount it to their chest, but I feel that's too low to get a good point of view. Now with the Chin mount, this is what you're seeing. This is the point of view you're getting, and pretty much the closest point of view that you can get of my view without actually being like on my visor or anything. So you're probably a few inches under my eyes, so you're seeing just below a few inches of what I'm actually seeing as I'm riding. And I think just having this centered, and you really get to see kind of everything I'm seeing as I look around. So to me personally, as somebody that watches a bunch of other videos, I tend to think this is the best looking point of view if that's what you're going for, which is why I went with a Chin mounted GoPro setup. So as you can see, this is what the actual camera setup looks like on my helmet when I'm riding. I have the GoPro slipped into the actual Chin mount right here, and it just slides in and snaps in. It'll kind of lock in place, so that way it is tight. So if I yank on the camera or anything like that, and it is a pretty windy day, it's not going anywhere, it's staying in there pretty solid. I do tighten down the screws pretty tight with the screwdriver, just because I feel like hand tight, the camera tends to move a little bit. But other than that, the actual mount itself, I've had no issues with, and I've been in all sorts of elements, obviously windy days, sunny days, rain, everything like that. And this 3M tape does seem to do a pretty good job. I haven't had any issues with this mount coming loose. So let's go ahead and jump back into the studio so you can see a closer look at this, and we'll go over some more things and a final review on how this has held up for 2 years.
So we're back here in the studio, and I do have the helmet in front of me that I was using for the riding footage. I did take the GoPro off just so you can see the actual mount itself, and it is very low profile, not much to it. So the great thing about this mount here is the fact that when you're not running a camera on there, it is not big and bulky and gets in the way. And also the cool thing about Chin mounts, and it's called a Chin mount because it mounts to the chin of your helmet, is they make a specific mount for your helmet. There's hundreds of different styles of helmets out there, and each one's different. And what you do is you go on their website, select your model and brand of helmet, and they'll have the one that will fit yours specifically. And I did notice that in this video that I'll post a link to when I did my initial install of this mount, some people did complain about these being a $35 mount and then getting it and realizing it's 3D printed. But given the fact with the amount of helmets out there and how they have to make these for each helmet, I don't think that's a bad deal. And honestly, in today's world, a lot of things are 3D printed, and I have had zero issues with this mount. So as you see, I've had this one on here for 2 years. I haven't removed it. I haven't had to reapply it or anything like that. And it's still holding up pretty strong. You can see I can just, with the weight of the helmet, it holds it just fine. And since it is specific to your helmet, you can see that since this is a modular one, I'm able to still access the button for the lid and also for the venting right here. So does not take away from being able to use those. And even when the camera is mounted to the helmet, you can still access those as well. So when it actually comes to putting this camera onto your helmet, there's a bunch of different accessories that you can use and mount. The one that I have found the most useful and the one that fits the best, honestly, is the low profile mount here. And Chin Mounts does on their website sell an accessory pack with several different ones. Depending on your style and model of helmet, it may be different for you. But on the one here that I've been running, which is just this Harley Davidson branded one, I've been using the low profile one, and it seems to work the best. Some of the other ones, depending on the curve or whatever of the actual attachment, might actually come out too far or go too far forward. So this low profile one has worked the best for me. I do think they are actually starting to sell these separately on their website, which makes it nice. So that way you don't have to spend the $20 on the entire pack for just this one. You can get just the low profile one. And the only thing that has actually failed me as far as this whole setup goes is the mount itself. One of these tabs here just broke off when I was trying to remove it. So that has nothing to do with the chin mount. It was just the way I was taking it off the camera. So I just had to replace one of these. But you'll see once you get your camera mounted to this, all you have to do is just slide it in. And you'll hear it kind of lock in place. And that's when those tabs come through, and then you can kind of move those in and out. But once you hear it click in, that camera is solid. It's not going anywhere. And again, you can kind of see that adhesive is holding up really good. And to get it off, you just push those tabs in and we'll pull it out just like that. And to get the audio in this setup, it has been a huge trial and error. There's really not a good way to get perfect audio from your helmet like this, especially with all the wind noise and everything. But the best way that I have found for me anyway is using the media mod, which you can see here attached to the GoPro. And then that way it has a port here for a 3.5 millimeter jack. And then I have a lavalier mic that I have inside the helmet that you can see right here. And it's just a long cord with the microphone portion right here. And then I have the second part that comes out here. And then this will connect into the back of the media mod to give me my audio. And all the extra wires that is with this, I just have tucked back into the helmet. Again, you can reference that initial video I did. And it works well. It's super hard to get good audio, but luckily this has been a decent microphone. You definitely want to make sure you have a good dead cat or something on there. If you just have the smaller pop filter on there, that might not cut out a lot of the wind noise. Having the dead cat on there would definitely help the best. But this is how I've been using the setup for the last 2 years. It's just using a wired lapel mic, plug it into the back of the media mod, just like that. And then I left enough cord to where I have the helmet open like this. There's still enough cord to work with. And the only issue with this is there is going to be some extra cord that just hangs out, but that hasn't been a problem for me. There is a little battery pack right here. Not all of the wired lavalier mics come with this battery pack, so you might not even have to worry about that. You'll just have a little bit of extra cord here. But since I have decided to retire this helmet and I do have a new one, I'm going to show you how I'm going to set up that one. So this is the new helmet that I'm going with. It's a Schubert modular helmet. And so I went with this one, and I love the fact that this one has comm, so I can listen to music inside the helmet and even talk on the phone. So, but as you can see, I don't have anywhere to mount a GoPro. So I went ahead and ordered another chin mount specifically for this helmet. And this is basically how it comes. You know, again, $35. You get the mount itself, and then you get the adhesive and some things to actually clean off the lid of it. So this is what the chin mount looks like for this helmet. It is a little bit different than the last one. So this is specifically for this helmet. Again, it is 3D printed, and it does have the 3M tape already installed on the mount itself. So then you'll just take the adhesive off of here and put it on the helmet. Main thing you want to do is kind of do some mock-ups and make sure that this is going to fit perfectly and you get the right spot, and test it out with your camera, kind of holding it up to make sure that's going to work for you. But luckily for me on this helmet, I do have a lot more room to work with, so I can mount it a couple different areas, and you'll see it is curved to this specific helmet, but I can still access the button for the lid and the airflow right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the GoPro camera and put the camera inside the mount till it snaps into place. And then I'm just going to kind of play around with where I want this mounted on, if I want it mounted up higher or down here a little bit lower. I might go just in the middle. All right, so once you got that mocked up and kind of an idea of where you want that mounted on the helmet, it does come with an alcohol prep pad, but you'll definitely want to make sure where you're going to mount this. You've already wiped off a lot of the bugs and everything like that. You'll see I got mine pretty clear, but I'm just going to take this pad and wipe it in that area where I'm going to be applying the adhesive. And then I'm just going to let that dry for a few minutes. And then the other thing that you're going to need that will help really get this adhesive glued to your helmet is either using a heat gun or a blow dryer to kind of help activate that. So I do have a heat gun that I will be using. I did use a dryer in the last video, so either one will work. This one just heats up a little bit faster and isn't as loud for the video. So I'm just going to peel off the backing of this 3M tape here. And then you want to take your heat gun or hair dryer, and you don't even have to use these. It's just going to help with that adhesive setting a little bit better. If you don't have one, that's fine. They just recommend you waiting up to 72 hours to mount your GoPro to the helmet. Whereas if you go with the heat route, it will fill up any holes if there's any voids or anything, and then it'll allow you to mount the camera within about 24 hours. So I'm just going to take a few seconds to get this on low, just have it set on low, just get it heated up a little bit here. All right, so now I'm just going to take it and actually get it close to where I want to, make sure it's level, and then I'm just going to stick it on there. And then you want to press down firmly and kind of hold that for about 60 seconds or so. So I'm just going to take the heat gun and kind of go around the edges a little bit here to make sure it adheres. And then that is it. It is on there. I went ahead and checked and made sure that there are no voids or anything like that. And it feels pretty solid on there. So pretty easy process to put this on there. And in case you are worried about this failing in any way, whether it be the adhesive or the mount breaking itself, they do have a tether here as a fail-safe, kind of a backup if you want to do that. And it's basically just this cord that wraps through this thing here, and then you would attach this to your camera. And then this piece right here, you'll actually mount this to the side of your helmet or wherever. And then that way, if this does fail, your camera will kind of fall off, but this will catch it and keep it from hitting the ground, because going at motorcycle speeds, it will destroy your camera. So that is another option and kind of a backup fail safe for you if you are worried about that failing. So I'm going to be doing a slightly different microphone setup with this helmet here. You'll see I have a wireless system that I'm going to be using that's going to be a little bit different than that wired one down there on the last helmet. And basically, if you've seen any wired systems, they come with a transmitter and possibly a receiver here. And that's basically, this will hook to your camera if you're using a different camera. And that's great for stuff you're doing off the bike. But what I like about this Comica branded one, they have onboard recording for the transmitter. So I don't even need a receiver or anything connected to the camera. This is all I need. And I record directly to here. And then when I'm done with it, I just plug it into the computer and take the file off, and that's it. So what I like about this is I'm able to just tuck it in here. I'll put it behind the cheek pad, and then I'll stick this in my pocket and then just have it recording that way. And it works fine when I'm recording on the bike. And then if I want to jump off and do some other recording off the bike, then I can just unhook this from the helmet and attach it to my shirt or jacket. And that is it. I don't have to take it out from behind the pads and mess with that at all. It's a lot simpler. The downside is I will have a cord coming down from the helmet to wherever I have this, but I've tried it several times and that has not been an issue. I do have a dead cat that I will be putting on this to help with that wind noise, but this is just a different setup I'm going to be going with. It's still another lavalier mic, but just a different way to be a little more versatile with stuff in the helmet and not. I did try the Purple Panda and it worked for one recording session and then kind of crapped out. So I returned that and then just went back to that deity one. So, but I have tried this Comica in this setup, doing several videos with it, and it works well. So that's what I'm going to be using with this specific helmet. So as a wrap up, long story long, I really do like these chin mounts. They worked well, which is why I went ahead and got it for my new helmet. I haven't had any issues, like I said. Some other people did with the adhesive, but that might be the way you had it on there or maybe the elements you were in. But for me, over the 2 years, I've had zero issues. So if you want to check out them, this is not sponsored or anything like that, but check out the Chin Mounts website, see which one actually works with your helmet, and you can check out all the different stuff they offer. They even offer a different style now, since vertical content for short form is a thing now. They make another separate one that you can mount your camera sideways to make it easier for the short form content. And if you're someone that's starting to create motorcycle content, check out this video here where I go through the entire process that you need to know, from setup, recording, all the way through editing.